change your heart, change your life, change the planet.
Hey everybody, it's Tim Van Orden, and today I've got a question for you. Are you enough as you are right now? Some people feel that they're enough and they engage in the world as if they are enough and they're pretty content. But if you're watching my videos, there's a good chance that the answer to that question is no, something's got to shift, something's got to change. I don't like who I am, I don't like the way I feel, I don't like the way I look. Something's got to move in a better direction. So, no, I'm not enough, but if I work really hard, I can become enough. I can become worthy. So, we have these standards inside of us that sometimes are given to us by our culture. The culture says you need to be this, shape, size, color, whatever. Or you've got standards that are set by the advertising industry, which can often become cultural because they're trying to sell you products to make you feel inadequate. So they show you models and images of people that might be more attractive than you, but they're really way, way, way off on the tail of distribution, meaning there's very few people that are that attractive. So they're anomalies. But you're made to feel like they're the average person because you see them on such a regular basis in advertising and film and television. So you think, well, everybody looks like that. But the reality is it might be a percent or a tenth of a percent of the population that looks like that. And yet we're told by these advertisers, these companies who want to get our money, that we are somehow inadequate, and they give us a contrast. They say, this is what a happy, average American, or wherever you're from, looks like. And take a look in the mirror. Do you see this image? Probably not. Well, my product can help. So what prompted this conversation today was a video that I watched this morning. Someone had edited together clips of interviews given by the actor Terry Crews, who's a very large, muscular man with a ton of energy. He was in the Old Spice commercials for a while, and he was the president in the movie Idiocracy, which if you haven't seen that movie, watch it. It's frightening. But it's a comedy. It's not a horror film, but it is frightening, especially considering where we find ourselves today. So in this video, which was put together as a motivational video, you hear Terry Crews saying again and again and again, you are not enough as you are. You're not. Accept it, admit it, and then use that reality, that acknowledgement, to fuel yourself to get better. And every time you look in the mirror, you should say to yourself, you are not enough. And that causes you to work harder. That causes you to get out there and want to shake it up and get bigger and get badder and get meaner. And that sounds motivating, right? Like, I'm not enough and I'm going to beat myself into shape. Or as I look out the window into the parking lot, there are several cars parked right there that have a bumper sticker that says Linao on them, L-I-N-A-O. Losing is not an option. And I think there's a gym that the owner has those bumper stickers. There are several gyms on this floor. And every time I go by that and I see it, and I just get sad that there's this standard of perfection, this standard of excellence, this standard of enough. Like, what is finally enough? How big do you have to get? How smart do you have to get? How beautiful? How clean does your skin have to be? How bright do your eyes have to be? How much money do you have to have before it's enough? You know, does it have to match perfectly the images that were sold in advertising? What message are we putting out there if losing is not an option? Only winning is. Because everybody can't be a winner. Everybody can't be the tenth of a percent that shows up on the cover of the magazine. That's a tiny, tiny, tiny select group of people who are really lucky. They did very little to get in that position except be born by parents who had really good genes, who combined in a really good way, and boom, there you go. So a lot of our culture is promoting this idea of you're not enough and losing is not an option. Not only do you have to win, but you have to win bigger and badder and bolder than ever before. So I'm a fan of competition. I think competition is really healthy, but not when the goal of the competition is to beat rather than compete. Competition is about people coming together and bringing out the best in each other, bringing out a new level of performance that might not have been possible without the synchrony created by people working together, even if working together means opposed. You push against me, I push back, and we both get stronger because of that resistance, like going to the gym. Getting back to Terry Crews and this idea of not being enough. Not enough for what? For some goal way up here, for some result that is way beyond where you are right now? Or are you enough to take the step that might eventually lead to this goal? Which one are you not enough for? Because if you're not enough to take the step necessary to climb the staircase to the result, then why bother? And if you're enough to take that step, then doesn't that already mean that you're succeeding if you take that step? I'm enough to engage. I'm powerful enough right now in this moment to take this step. And if I'm consistent in taking this step and then taking the next and the next and the next, or whatever variation that looks like, well, I'm going to get somewhere. It may not be here. It may not be the exact result that I specified, but I'll get somewhere and I will be more powerful, guaranteed. Even if life comes along and knocks you down, you're going to build a habit, you're going to build a skill set, you're going to build power, and you'll find a way to get back on the horse. So rather than looking at the goal way up here, which is totally arbitrary and has nothing to do with you right now, instead of looking at that, look at where you are right now. What am I enough for? What can I do in this environment right here around me right now that I can do powerfully, that's going to then make something else possible, that's going to either bring me to another level or is going to change my environment, which allows me to now engage more powerfully in a new activity by either going to a different place or by changing the place that I'm in so that different types of work can be done. For instance, I'm organizing my studio still after the Snowshoe Championships. And the more I organize the studio, the more work is possible here. So I could look at the studio and I could imagine a perfectly organized studio and I could say, wow, my studio is not enough. Look at that difference, and I can be overwhelmed by that and say, holy cow, that's a big jump. Or I can say, let's forget about the organized studio. Let's be in the actual studio. What am I enough for in this moment? What can I do in this moment that's going to slightly transform this space? Because that's how every goal is achieved, by slightly changing something, a little bit at a time. And this is a great example of a commonly misunderstood analysis or tool called compare and contrast. Contrast means you take two things and you look at how different they are. You say, I'm here and the organized studio is here, and wow, that's a big difference. That's a contrast. But if we go to the compare or comparison step, we get rid of this one and we're left with this one down here. And people misunderstand what the word compare means, or what a comparison is. It comes from the Latin com, which means with or together, and par, which means equal. So this is where the golf term par comes from, and it's also where the term peer comes from. Someone who is your equal is your peer. So compare, equal, together. So when you compare something, you're not looking for differences like when you contrast something. When you compare something, you're looking for similarities. You're saying, how are these two things similar to each other? Not how are they different. So when we use the word comparison to describe how different we are, we're actually misusing that term, because a comparison is about discovering how similar two things are, how they're equal, how they're alike. And that's where self-compassion shows up. If you look at how different you are from where you'd like to be, that's a contrast, and that hurts, and it's painful, and it can motivate you into action on the short term. But if you want to be consistently engaged, you have to choose a comparison instead. How am I like or similar to the tasks that I need to engage in? Meaning, how is my energy level similar to the energy required to do a specific task? Maybe I can't do this, but why should I do that? That's way off in the future. That's totally distant from where I am right now. So let's come down to where I am right now. And where does my energy level or my skill set match the tools or the tasks in my environment? Let's find a comparison. And I don't think enough people do this. They take comparison and they morph it into a contrast. But when you turn it back into an actual comparison, you find out that you have a lot more power than you realize, because you only ever need enough power to deal with the step or the tool or the task that's right here. So let's find out which tool, step, or task is equivalent to my energy, strength, skill, or knowledge. And then do it. Engage in it. And then if you have enough energy for the next step, go ahead and take that. And you keep making this comparison rather than continually contrasting. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? No, you're never there. You're always here. And if you're always thinking about there, you'll never be here. So I kind of feel bad for Terry Crews if that's actually the way he feels and that's the way he lives his life, because he never gets to be powerful here, because he's never enough here. Here is never enough. But there's always a there where the grass is greener. But when you're always fantasizing about that place or that person, you never get to enjoy this one because you've decided that it's not enough. That's a sad way to live your life. But there is a caveat. You can't do nothing in this moment simply because you feel good about yourself. Like, I'm enough. I don't need to engage with this task because, well, Tim told me I'm enough right now. You are. You're enough to engage with what actually needs to be engaged with, which means go engage with it. Don't say, I'm enough and therefore nothing needs to change. You, your body, your being is a mechanism of resistance, meaning that if you don't have some form of resistance in your life, like exercise, resistance training, you will atrophy, you will wither, and you will get diseased. You must have some kind of physical resistance, mental resistance, emotional resistance in your life. It's the way you're built. But be compassionate with yourself as you engage in that resistance training. Don't fight it. Don't beat yourself up. Build yourself up by saying, I'm enough for this. So it's not about not being enough. It's about realizing that you're not done yet. You're not finished. There's still growth, there's still opportunity, there's still possibility. And you, right here, right now, are enough to take the steps necessary to make that possibility manifest. Okay? So you are enough, but you're not done. But I am. So I'm going to say goodbye. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like this channel, subscribe and make sure to click the bell to get the updates. Leave your comments below. I'd love to hear what you think and feel about this idea of being enough or not being enough. And if you want to keep this channel alive and strong, come on over to Patreon, $1 or $2 a month, and you help me investigate this thing called life in an even more powerful way. And I greatly appreciate your support. Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon. Bye.